friends, chess players, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing a special episode that is an episode about choosing openings. I'll recommend 3 or more openings. In fact, rather than 3 specific openings, let's say I'll try to give you some direction for those who want to improve, what you should choose in an opening, what you should look for in an opening. So let's open the chessboard right away and get started. There's something that's very important to me because obviously, especially when we talk about openings, nowadays the computer says they're all fine. Even the more outdated openings in the end work. Somehow the computer manages to make them draw anyway. So let's say we enter a rather complicated C from this point of view, where everyone can have their own opinion. Today, I'm not going to tell you about openings to build a repertoire. So not the classic video like play the French defense and win every game. No. This is a video dedicated to those who want to improve at chess and want to get an idea of what actually leads to improvement in chess. So, let me introduce this concept to you right away. For me, improvement in chess happens when we make it so that an imbalance appears on the board. An imbalance can be anything, but in any case, it is exactly the opposite. For example, the concept of universality. Let me give you an example right away. I myself have shown you many times here on the channel even universal openings, like for example, I've made videos about the famous Zuckertort, this one with knight f3, with bishop to b2, and so on and so forth. So what is the problem with these variations? Even when I showed them to you, I gave you this disclaimer. These variations are prêt-à-porter variations. They're easy to play, there's not much to study or learn, so let's say if someone doesn't have much time to dedicate to chess, just wants to play a few games, doesn't want to lose in the opening, fine, let's go with something like that. Also, okay, right now I'm about to say something I'm making up, the London system, right? And all these variations are practically universal, where you always make the same moves and that's it. So they can be played by those who, in quotes, don't have great ambitions in the discipline. They just want to play a few games, have some fun, without any commitment, let's say. So today's video instead is dedicated to those who, from this point of view, want to improve, want to achieve something. And I'll tell you right away, something very unpopular. In order to improve, to achieve something, you might have to lose. What does that mean? That even playing things that aren't really your style allows us to unlock certain improvements. Surely I could, as I've shown you, maybe let you see what others do. Now, video, the Stonewall defense plan, we lift the rook and checkmate them. And you might even win the games, of course. But we don't improve. Why don't we improve? Because we're always doing the same thing, always the same pattern. So we're not really thinking for ourselves, we're just moving pieces, we're literally just pushing wood. So what I'm gonna tell you today is probably something that at first will make you lose a lot of games. Because I'm going to tell you some things that are theoretically very complicated, meaning their variations in particular. I'm going to give you some advice. Now you'll see both as white and as black. As white to play 1e4 and as black to respond with 1d5. Thank you. Theoretically, the move 1, e5, and of course also white's 1.e4 are the most aggressive variations, the ones where there are also more tricks involved. If we want to put it this way, from this point of view, it means that if you're not well prepared, you might end up facing an opponent who has watched the YouTube video about the Italian game trick. And so on and so forth. Maybe they pull off the trick and you lose. That said, let's immediately get to the point and focus on the important things. Defeat is not something we should shy away from. In fact, if we want to improve, we need to embrace defeat. Because it's much better to lose a game where I've learned something than to win, perhaps a game with the universal call system where we just followed our plan, the one we know by heart and didn't learn anything. We simply put on a display of a plan we already know. Why the move e4? Is the strongest move of all, both for beginners and intermediate players, because in the early stages of the game, in the early stages of your chess journey, a very important aspect is tactics. So from this point of view, the move 1e4 allows us to enter very aggressive positions. Generally, we're talking about the famous open game. This doesn't mean that with 1e4 there are only open positions, but generally, let's say we have more open positions, maybe compared to d4, the London system, and all those setups. So when we play this move on the board, we are accepting, even without knowing the theory, we are accepting to play an open and direct game. And we can play it by trying to follow the principles. What are the principles of the opening? Develop your pieces, basically get your king to safety and control the center. Develop your pieces, get your king to safety and control the center. If we play by following these three principles, even if we don't have a huge amount of theoretical knowledge, in the end, we can still play the game. For example, here we try to... In my opinion, this is the strongest move, right? Because we're developing a piece which helps us out, right? Meanwhile, we castle. And at the same time, let's say, in quotes, we're controlling the center, so this move can only be good. For example, does our opponent defend the pawn? Perfect. Let's stick with the concept. We develop pieces, possibly develop the king, and then, let's say, we try to work towards gaining a space advantage. This doesn't mean we can just relax. For example, if the knight move is played here, watch out, there's a threat, right? So, okay, maybe we defend it. And in quotes, this is also a developing move because then we can develop the bishop. He develops, we bring the king to safety, he brings his king to safety. What else did I tell you? We need to try to play to occupy the center. And so the move c3 is a move. You see, it goes to occupy the center. And one day we want to play the move d4, for example. Let's say we play knight to knight here. Now, you see, I would like to play d4, but I can't do it because maybe he could capture the pawn. So what do? I defend the pawn and then, well, let's say he makes some random move and then, you see, we can achieve central occupation. So if we play following these principles, we can play any opening without too many problems. Then, I repeat, it's a position where there can be some tricks. The most famous trick, for example, in my opinion, is this one, knight to d4, which is the Blackburn. I don't even remember what this thing is called, knight to d4, which says, but he's leaving the pawn hanging. And someone might say, well, I'll just take the pawn. Why not? I take the pawn and attack. And this is a famous trick. Black now has this move here, which basically attacks the knight and attacks g2. Maybe we say, well, I'll take this, I'll take here, because I'm attacking here, attacking there, it seems good. But then he takes here, attacks the rook, we defend it, he takes with check. Now, if we defend with the queen, we lose the queen, so maybe we defend with the bishop, but then we get checkmated with knight to f3. You see, with e4-e5, there are a lot of tricks, so it can happen to me to play this game and lose, okay? But, I mean, it's not a problem. That's what I want to get across to you. If we play this game like this and lose in 7 moves, that's perfectly fine. It doesn't matter. We've learned something, and next time we won't fall for it. This trick, what I mean is you shouldn't run away from defeat. We have to absolutely embrace defeat, and in particular, now let's switch to playing black. Let's look at 3 or 4 openings against d4, maybe from the black side. It's the same thing. When we play e5, we're, so to speak, putting ourselves in the lion's jaws, because of course there are many variations here. Tricking with white, there are also aggressive lines, like the king's gambit. There are many aggressive variations, so playing a4 to e5, I can assure you, is not easy. It's very difficult. However, thank you. By playing these kinds of positions, we somehow manage to better develop our tactical instinct, even if we lose games. It doesn't matter, we improve anyway. I mean, it's better to play something like this and lose than to play, I don't know, the Owen defense, or even worse. Or a hippopotamus, okay? We've seen the video Win with the Hippopotamus, and we play the hippopotamus. I also showed you the hippopotamus because, well, I mean, I have to introduce you to the openings, but, you know, it doesn't make sense for me to play the hippopotamus with black if I want to improve, because I'll always make the same moves. I do this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. I'm always making the same moves automatically. I'm not thinking for myself because I'm playing automatically, so how can I expect to improve? So it's better to lose with e4, e5, rather than win maybe with a hippopotamus or an Owen where I don't learn anything. A little bonus I'm giving you about e4. In my opinion, it's actually an easy opening to play, which allows us to improve. It's the Scandinavian with queen to d5 and long castling. If you want, you can find it in the very first video on this channel. So scroll down to the very first video on this channel, which actually has a lot of views, so you should be able to find it easily. It's called Attack with the Scandinavian, where I quickly show you this variation here where black generally castles long. I like this variation because it's not really an automatic line, since yes, the first theoretical moves might be more or less automatic. But then generally, white will attack on the queen side and black will counterattack on the king side. So it's a position, in short, where both sides attack. And so, in quotation marks, it's a position where we can really develop our attacking and defensive skills. So, as an alternative, it's an option that works for me. With 3 to 4, however, I repeat, the one that gives us the most from a learning perspective is probably this one. From the point of view of results, obviously it will give you much less, because you'll fall for so many tricks that you could potentially lose a lot of games because of them. But I repeat, that's not a problem. We fall for the trick and we learn something from it. Let's finish with d4. Here, I'm going to suggest a very unconventional opening because I'll give you a very particular opening that gives up space. But what I don't like for beginners against 1d4 is playing the Queen's Gambit, which I personally play and I get along with it very well, but I don't recommend it to a beginner. Why don't I recommend it to a beginner? Because what happens is that at a certain point, White might just settle into their usual defensive position. Casbald, what is this position here, right? And at a certain point, so to speak, White goes a bit on autopilot and Black makes a few moves. A bit passively, let's say, develops the pieces without really understanding this position. So we end up in a situation where, so to speak, we don't really think much and just put the pieces on the squares. In my opinion, what you really need to improve at chess is to create significant imbalances. Because in imbalance, I have to think, I have to find solutions, I have to come up with something. And so that's when maybe, yes, I might lose 1, 2, 3, 4, even 10 games. But little by little, I start to understand certain things about those imbalances. In my opinion, the most unbalanced position you can get against 1d4 is with the King's Indian defense. This is a variation that definitely gives the opponent a space advantage, but there are many ideas for us as well. Because at a certain point, there's this famous position where we work to achieve the breakthrough with f5. So we move the knight, then play f5, and we also start our own attack. If you want to review the King's Indian defense, I've made a video about it on the channel. You can check it out. Just search for King's Indian and you'll find it. Here, in particular, this is the Petrosian variation, and you play a 5. Why do you play a 5? Because I want to place the knight on c5 without getting hit by b4. But I'll refer you to the video. There's no need for me to talk about it again here. I've made a complete video on this. So anyway, let me repeat. I wanted to give you these suggestions. They don't have to be followed 100%, but I want you to grasp the basic idea. The basic idea is that I need to create an imbalance from the opening so that I can have positions where that imbalance gives me my lifeblood and then improve from there. And above all, you shouldn't be afraid of losing games, okay? For years, I've had many students I've met who, for years, stick to their little systems. They never improve because they stay in their comfort zone. To improve, you have to step out of your comfort zone. You stick to your little system. Sure, you know the moves, you know how to place the pieces, so you might potentially get a better result, but you won't actually improve because you'll always place the pieces the same way and your mind isn't really training itself to improve. So let's say if you're playing in an important tournament, I accept that you play within your comfort zone. But when you're training, follow my advice. Don't be afraid to lose. The more you lose, the more you play positions outside your comfort zone, and the more you start to understand, even if just a little, what positional imbalances are, as well as tactical imbalances. Then obviously for a beginner or intermediate player, tactical imbalance is what matters most. So it's definitely important to work on that aspect, as well as all the others. I always tell you this, but certainly the tactical aspect, guys. As beginners, we can't ignore it. Well, I hope I haven't traumatized you too much with these tips. I know we all want to play to win, but in order to win, you have to accept that you have to lose first. There isn't a single champion who only ever won. All the greatest champions were losers at first, meaning they lost matches and learned from those losses. Then they became stronger. So you should do the same. Follow the same path. Don't be afraid to lose and focus on improving. That said, as always, if you want to support the channel, subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Let me know if you want more opening videos like this. Lately, I haven't made many because honestly, I've noticed that opening videos haven't done that well here on YouTube. But still, write in the comments if you want more videos like these, and I'll see you in all the next videos.